Hi everyone, I'm Stephen and welcome to Watch Out. This is a follow-up video on this ST691N movement that I was working on in my last video. Let's turn that off for a tick. It was really driving me crazy. I was at my wit's end, and I'm so thankful to those of you who sent me encouragement and suggestions in the comments for that video. A number of you suggested that the movement was over-oiled, and it probably was. I'm not sure that that in itself was the problem, but anyway, from the comments that came from you guys, it became pretty clear to me that I was going to have to tear the whole movement down and recheck my work. So I have done that, and as you can see, I now have an amplitude of 276. Before, it was about 180. So the amplitude was just way too low. It was keeping time, but it was just right on the cusp of not being able to run properly at all. So 180 is just way too low. So we've got a much healthier amplitude. So what I did is I did tear the movement down, and in doing so, I found that there was a humongous great big black fibre tangled up in the escape wheel, and a couple of other smaller fibres here and there throughout the movement. That's really not good. You couldn't actually see this fibre until you took the wheel out of the watch. It's not visible because it's obstructed by the plate. So that was a problem indeed. So I tore the movement down, cleaned it all again. I've put it back together. I haven't actually lubricated it yet because I wanted to do the absolute minimum to get it to the point of being able to run and have a reference. See what the amplitude was with the minimum to be able to get it to run. So the only lubrication I've done, I have lubricated the stones on the balance. The end stones on the balance are lubricated. And there was that funny little cap jewel for, I think it's the fourth wheel from memory, I can't remember, but I lubricated that because I don't know how to get the cap off. Apart from that, I haven't lubricated any of the actual movement. I've lubricated the keyless works, but that won't contribute to the running of the watch. I also popped the cap off the mainspring just to re-inspect that and make sure I was happy with how it was assembled. There was a little bit too much oil in there, so I've taken out the excess oil, but I don't think that would really affect it in terms of running. So I now have a reference with this amplitude of 276. So what I'm going to do is get it back under the microscope now and start lubricating it. But the point is, I'm going to treat this like a car. Basically do only a few things at a time. And if all of a sudden I lose a huge amount of amplitude, I know I've done something wrong. So I'm not going to do all of that on camera, but I will update you as I work through this as to how it goes. So let's get on to that. Okay guys, step one has been successful. I still have a really nice high amplitude. So what I have just done is I just oiled the jewel, the feet on the escape wheel, which is probably the trickiest thing to do out of what I've got to do. So I thought I'd do the thing I was most likely to stuff up first. And that seems to have gone okay. The trick was just sort of like working out how to come in at the right angle with the oiler to oil the ends of these stones and nothing but the ends of the stones, and then apply it to each of the teeth of the escape wheel. So that's encouraging. So the next step is going to be to oil the pivots. Now there aren't actually any pivots on the bottom side to oil. So there's only ones on this side, but to access them, so I mentioned that I'd done the absolute minimum to get the movement running. So I haven't actually fitted yet the works under here that drive the second pivot, which sits in this jewel here. So I need to take this bridge off, and I'll oil the pivots that are underneath that first, and see how that goes. And if that's successful, then I'll put in the works for the second drive. But one step at a time, let's get these pivots underneath this secondary bridge lubricated. Okay, first is the escape wheel. This is the third wheel. I'm just being, very careful about how much oil I put on. Center wheel. Okay, that's those pivots done. Now, the watch won't actually run without that other bridge on though, because it holds the fourth wheel in place. So I actually am going to have to reassemble this. And I think I'll do that off camera, so I'll just do that and I'll come back to you. Right, so I've got this bridge back on now and I have lubricated all of the pivots. So time for the moment of truth. Okay guys, as you can see, it looks pretty good on the time grapher. The amplitude is good. As you can also see, I've got this thing back in the case, fully assembled, hands-on, and it's looking good. So I am so pleased, because as you know, I was so close to giving up, to throwing the towel in on this hobby altogether. And you guys came through for me. That's what this is all about. That's part of the reason why I decided to start a YouTube channel rather than just doing this on my own. One thing I will say is it is actually pretty stressful to do everything on camera, even though, you know, I'm not live streaming or anything, I'm just recording it. It's not as simple as just thinking that you just record everything. There's a lot of technical things to think about, so that's why I found with this time around, I did a fair bit of this off camera just because I wanted to be 100% mentally focused on what I was doing and making sure that I got this right. So I know I'll improve, but yeah, I just felt that for getting this fixed up, I needed to have the brain space to focus entirely on what I was doing. So I am pretty sure the reason why this watch was not running properly was because of contamination in the movement. It was over-oiled. I have re-oiled it, as you saw, but I don't believe that that is actually what was causing the low amplitude. I believe that it was from all of those fibres, and that happened simply because it's actually been darn cold. And when I started on this movement a few months ago, it was the middle of winter, and it's just too cold out here to work, and I was wearing a coat, and I think that coat has been shedding those fibres that you saw. So that coat is officially banned from my workshop as of now. So once again, thank you so much for joining me on this short update video on this Felicia movement, this Felicia watch with a FHF 691N movement in it. We've finally got there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do join me on the next video, and don't forget to watch out.